Okay, I'm going to try this again. Wi-Fi is not working good here. Our wireless is about 50% for the last 3 weeks. We're having a hard time getting that fixed. But the purpose of this video is to, number one, thank my niece, Ashley, and her husband, Anthony Monet, for sending us these. Show them off, boys. Those are apple trees. Can you read what it says on them? This one's an Empire, and this one is a Macintosh. All right, well, they sent these to me. They sent 12 of them to me. And the way that worked was we were looking at Facebook, and he had pictures of him and his son Maverick doing some grafting of trees, and I was really interested in that. And I said to him, what would it take to get some of those? And he says, what do you want, 12? And they showed up here a week later. So we got them in pots. They're in the greenhouse right now. I hope that's what we're supposed to do. I think it is. And it created something in my house that strikes fear into the hearts of my associates here on the farm. I have an idea. And I'm told, too, that the audio on my videos is not what it should be. So that's why I'm doing this, and that my hand shakes a little bit. I got a thing coming that will fix that. So it'll make it more stable, better quality, all right? So that's on the way. But around my house, when I have an idea, a lot of times it means extra work for everybody. But let's consider this concept. Putting in an orchard. Doesn't that sound fun? Bucolic? All that stuff? We put in an orchard, and then we can go out there and we can walk around and pick apples and eat them and just live happily ever after. Well, it's fun to think about. But let's do a reality check here. I'm going to show you 2 apple trees that are in my yard. Now, I have no idea when they were planted. We've been here 15 years. There they are. See those beauties? They're pretty big. About every other year, sometimes 2 years in a row, we'll get an unbelievable harvest off of them. And they're 2 different types, a Macintosh, and then the other ones are called man apples. That's just what they call them around here. I don't know exactly. They're yellow. They taste good. Kids eat too many of them at first and they get diarrhea. But here's the reality of it. You get all the apples you want, and then the apples start falling to the ground, and then they get rotten, and you walk out there and you get swarmed by bees, and you pick up apples to throw them into the pigs, and you get stung on the finger and all that stuff, and that all happens. So the idea of putting in an orchard sounds like a good idea, but in reality it's a lot more work. Then you got to trim the trees. You know, it's a lot of work. It really is. It's a good concept, and if I wasn't doing anything else here, I would love to be an apple orchard guy. But that is not the case. We have really big storms. All right, so here's my idea. Get in here out of the wind. Right there, I'm looking at it, I have a pasture that's about a half an acre. And I fenced it off real nice. It's close to the road. And there's a driveway on the other side of it. And the purpose of that is I put my youngest pigs in there and start them in there. Right now, I have 3 sows in there, and they have babies that are about 10 weeks old. And they're getting ready to come out. But it's right close to the house. It's close to the yard. The pigs that are in there have a tendency to be very tame because they see us all the time. The kids are playing in the backyard, and so they're part of the landscape here. But what if I figured out a way to plant the trees in there? I'm going to get in the greenhouse. and spaced them out really nice and put some sort of protective measure around the base of them so that pigs couldn't get to them. And these trees should bear in less than 5 years. They're very fast growing. What they do is they graft like a Macintosh onto a certain rootstock. I don't remember exactly what that is. I'm going to make it my business to find out about that, though, because I'm really interested in that technology. But the apples will start bearing in like 5 years. And so what if I was able to turn pigs in there when the harvest is going? So let's say that we get everything that we want off those trees, eat them, make applesauce out of them, do whatever you want to do, throw them at cars, whatever you want to do. And then the rest of them becomes pig feed, and we don't have to pick it up. They go out and pick it up. Everything I'm resting on is shaking right now because of the wind. All right, how about right there? Right. So that is kind of my plan. It's even this thing's shaking. That's kind of my plan. Now all I have to do is figure out a way to protect the trees while there are pigs in there, because I can't leave that field with no pigs on it, because it's all bare dirt out there right now and the weeds will come up something terrible. So I have to plant something in it once I get them off. And then I believe what I'll do is when these trees are well rooted and I have them in a bigger pot, I put them in a small pot now just for a little while, let the roots start taking hold, and then I'll move them to a bigger pot. Okay, this is the only place I can be. And then I'll get them out there, and I just got to figure out a way to protect the trees from the pigs, but that's not too hard. And then rig up an irrigation system so I can irrigate right to the base of the tree, and that's not hard either. With our drip irrigation technology, it's not hard at all. I probably have what I need to do it here right now. So that's the idea. That's what I think I'm going to do. And moving in that direction, I got my best men working with me today. And we got to do a little bit of digging because we got to get some water lines over to that area. If we're going to have an orchard there, we're going to need water. I've just been using a portable watering system for those pigs. We're just coming out of winter, so there was still a lot of water in there. And not only are we going to do this, but we're gonna actually designate that area the orchard, right? And it's going to be an orchard that we can turn pigs into. It's not going to be a pig pen that we grow apple trees in. It's going to be an orchard first, and I think this is really cool because I got enough room out there for probably 24 trees. I got 12 from Anthony, and I want to get like 12 more. And it's going to be a variety of trees. And with this technology that we've just been shown here, and Anthony sent us these specimens, we can grow any kind of apple out there that we want. And because pigs have been on that field now for a few years, it's very fertile and very easy to dig in. So this is going to be a neat project to do. I know I got a few other things going on too, but this will be neat because it's right close to the house. It's going to provide, it'll provide like a break there from that house over there. It's like a quarter of a mile away. It's the only house we can see from here. But I think it's going to make a nice addition to this area. Let me show you a scan of it. Okay, it's a half-acre field. And then just south of it, this is what we call the material handling area. Now, I divided it here because I needed an area to do my composting in. You can only compost on an area for about a year, maybe 2. but then the ground there gets so fertile that you really need to move someplace else. So this is going to be our composting area up here. It's about a half an acre, and that's the one pile that I have right now. I'm kind of low on compost this year. But here shortly, where we feed the cows during the winter, when I get that scraped out, I'll have, 3 piles that size, and then it'll compost down to 1 pile. A few years back, you may remember, I was doing business with the tree company that trims the lines, the power lines, and that is really something to take advantage of if you have a couple of pieces of equipment like I do. I have a small tractor, like 45 horsepower tractor with a front end loader on it. It's the most useful piece of equipment that I have, and they're not super expensive. People make payments on cars and they don't make you money, but this thing does. If I can get, like a couple of years ago, I got that company to dump the chippings from when they trim the power lines. I got them to dump it on us, and I had a mountain of the stuff. And at first I thought, I got too much. What am I going to do with all this stuff? And I started doing that because Joel Salatin talked about doing that in his book, You Can Farm. So that's why I did it. And when they started dumping, they just kept on dumping. And, so I wound up with a lot. It's gone now. It is totally gone. We did a lot of interesting things with those wood chips. But now those wood chips are now part of this farm, right? Trees bring nutrients up from deep down in the soil. And the nutrients that are deep in the soil, things like manganese, boron, there's a host of things that are deep in the soil. We just don't have them on the topsoil, and we need them. So those wood chips, when we bring those up and then they compost down, they disperse those elements, those nutrients at the top of our soil. So it became a really good thing for me to do. I made pathways out of them. I used them for bedding. We took large piles of them and covered them with the water that drains out of our butcher shop that's full of blood and manure, I suppose, and everything else that's in that water when we're washing the floors down. And then it goes into a tank, and that the overfill of that tank goes out into a leach field. But I pumped that tank out into another tank, and then I covered, well, actually what I did is I ran it in a hose out to this big pile of chips, and I covered that with that, bacteria-laden juice that was just gross smelling and everything, and it composted those chips down in a very, very short time and made a really, really rich, dark soil out of it. Because remember, soil comes from protozoa eating bacteria, and then the protozoa manure out soil. I mean, that's a little oversimplified, but that's basically where soil comes from. And what we always want to do is we always want to build the topsoil up. So, the topsoil is like our bank where we're putting our nutrient equity in. We're putting equity into the soil that we can draw on in the future. If we don't keep putting it in, we're not going to have anything to draw out, and then we're going to be going and buying Miracle-Gro to make vegetables grow. We shouldn't have to do that. So, I think I digressed a little bit. But we went from orchards to nutrients, and I guess I'll sign off for now. This is Mark from Baker's Green Acres. Remember, anyone can farm. Oh, you can go over and check our YouTube page. It's Baker's Green Acres, and there's quite a few videos over there if you find these videos enlightening. And these videos are a byproduct of the farm. These are just things that I'm learning doing this, and I have all my kids working here and my wife, and we all learn things all the time. But the thrust of this farm is sales. We grow animals, we get them processed, and then we sell them. You go to bakersgreenacres.com. Please support this farm or a farm near you. But if we don't support small farms, they're going away, and then you're stuck with what you have. So please support this farm as soon as you can. My wife is putting orders together right now that go out this afternoon. We use UPS. We have these neat little boxes with freezer packs in them, and you'll have nice, clean beef, pork, and chicken coming right to your doorstep, and you don't have to worry about the meat being laden with things that you don't know, because I don't buy any antibiotics for my animals. I don't buy any growth hormones, anything like that. I don't do that, never have, don't plan to. I don't plan to feed that to me or my kids. You wouldn't think to look at me that I'm 81 years old, but I am. Okay, this is Mark from Baker's Green Acres. Remember,